So why are we having this seminar? This seminar is a mainstay of Brookhouse School. We have a parent seminar every year, but we know the last couple of years, due to the COVID pandemic, we've been unable to meet in this way, face-to-face. So we've had some online. And so this is our first one in quite a number of years. And I'm so glad we're having it. It's a very interactive forum. And I always say there's no manual to this parenting. There's no manual, no one has it all figured out. We are all figuring it out. Some of us have young children, others have children in university. We are still figuring it out. Some of us have children at the stage of starting their own homes, still figuring it out. There is no manual. And I can say, my own daughters have been in Brookhouse. I've learned so much from these parent seminars. And so it's always very valuable to come together with parents, like-minded parents, to just talk about our young people. The world out there with different people and different ways of looking at things, and how are we equipping them to cope with the world out there. One of the things that we really value in Brookhouse is to make sure our young people come out resilient, being able to bounce back, being able to get back when they feel shut down, whether in academics, in their social life. How are we supporting them? Now, to help us do that, we have our speaker today. Mr. Luther had introduced her earlier, and I just want to introduce her a bit with a brief bio. She is Mrs. Josephine Johari Auditorium. She is not new to the Brookhouse community. She has spoken to many of our parents in many fora, and she's a counseling psychologist with 15 years experience working with people, sharing and learning so that individuals become more innovative and dynamic in their life roles. She has worked with couples and individuals who are struggling with life's difficulties, and by implementing change work, the journey has helped them to learn to live life more effectively. As a trained leadership coach by Giant Worldwide, she uses effective tools to help individuals begin their transformation journey towards becoming their best self. She's a consultant with several corporate and educational organizations. She's also a wife and a mother. Parents, help me to welcome Mrs. Josephine Auditorium on stage.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And I'm very thankful to Brookhouse for giving me this opportunity that we've had over the years where we're able to interact as parents. You've seen my introduction. I'm Josephine, and I'm a mother. I stand before you as a mother and a parent. And I stand before you as one who has made many mistakes. Learned, moved on. You know, you dust yourself up and you just move on. So I'm happy to be with you, and it's really, it's good to see this campus. It's really lovely, and to appreciate your being here to interact. So what I want us to do is just to share some thoughts, even as we talk about the emotionally intelligent parent. I've seen already with that little exercise that there are very intelligent, emotionally intelligent parents here, which is good. So we will begin. And I think what I want to do with us is to really just to encourage a healthy awareness of emotional intelligence, okay? We want to focus on communicating and emphasizing the importance of it, so that children grow to be happy later in life, and so that we start to begin to understand emotionally charged children. Now we will introduce emotional intelligence. It's a big word that really just talks about understanding feelings, and you pretty much know what it's all about. Understanding feelings, and so that we're able to understand emotional problems in our children, and when we hear they have difficulties in school. And again, the home, the dynamics of the home also has its input, because sometimes as parents we don't know how to regulate our emotions, and that becomes a bit of a problem. So first of all, let's ask this question: who is a parent, and what is the role of a parent? I will ask you to do, just to share with someone, somebody next to you, somebody near you. What do you think? Who is a parent and what is the role? What is the role? Just think it through. A few seconds. Now, according to one dictionary, a parent is a person who brings up and cares for another. Okay? So being a parent does not necessarily mean that you biologically have a child. You are taking care of a child. And parenting can take different forms. It can take a guardian, it can take a grandmother, it can take step parenting, legal guardianship, or a combination of all these things. But what I want us to catch is that a parent is a person who brings up and cares for another. So, who is parenting your children? Who is parenting your children? Who are the people you've put around your children to parent them? Because anytime you put them in another adult's care, that adult is parenting them. So how careful are you in putting people who have your ideas, your ideals, your values to take care of your children? Now, I want you to just think of a word or write a word that will describe how you feel about your parenting today. What word would you use to describe your parenting? What word would you use? Just one or two, but how you feel. Not what you think. How you feel about that role that you have as a parent. So just keep that word in your mind and we will come to it later. Right, now, our parents and guardians, we always start there. That's who we are. But even as we are parents and guardians, first of all, we are going through all sorts of things, aren't we? We are working, we have challenges of work and life. We have spouses, some are newly married, others are not, but we have partners who we are not too clear about this parenting thing. We have uncertainties about the little ones, if it's when they are coming to become bigger. We have all sorts of things going on. And then we have, in parenting, there's always the movement from when kids are really tiny, from when they're babies, to as they grow, as they come to school, as they get into junior school, they go to high school. There's all these accelerated developmental milestones that they go through that we also have to work with. We also have to adjust to until these kids become young adults. Then there's the demands of shifts in relationship patterns as you parent across generations. You might have little children, you might have teenagers, you might have those ones who are in college or going to, they're finished and want to go to work. And I don't know if some of you have reached there where you started parenting your parents. It's coming. If you're not there, it's coming. So you're parenting across generations, right? And then it coincides with the parental changes. I don't know, again, if any of you is going through those ones of midlife. Ladies, when we hit the 50s or the 40s, these days even 35, it's happening. Things start happening to your body, so you're also adjusting to certain things in yourself that are out of your control, and you have to cope with that as you cope with other things, right? Of course, the stresses of life and work, we all went through that whole COVID situation that really, really woke everybody up to how life can change just like that. So there's all this going on in you as you're parenting, all right? And sometimes when we are going through all these things, we may not be as deliberate as we would like in choosing, especially the people who are around our children. We may go around with assumptions of thinking, the way I was brought up was good enough, so I'll just do the same. We sometimes have assumptions of, I'll just give my child everything, the best of everything, and they're going to be okay. But how do you define what is best? How do you define what is best for that child? very difficult to really interpret what another human being is feeling or is thinking. We can only assume, which is what we always do. But sometimes we believe our assumptions, which is not necessarily healthy. All right, so that is us, and that is, we're trying to parent as we go through all these things. So we are just trying to, it's a disclaimer here that when we mess up, it's, we have a reason to mess up. There's a lot going on with us. So let's move on. Okay. Now, positive parenting. I want to give a thought about what positive parenting is. And it is using warmth, love, respect, consistency, and good communication and empathy in the way you do what? You behave. It's the way you behave with your child. That is what positive parenting is. The importance of role modeling. So that as you talk to the child, the things you tell them are the things you do. Because children are, they're so aware of us, and what we do talks a lot louder than what we say. Okay? So children, what we do speaks so loudly that children cannot hear what we are saying. So many times we are telling our children, do this, do this, do this. They're not doing it. Why? Are you doing it yourself? Are you, whatever it is that you're asking, are you setting an example so that they can follow what you are doing? All right? So, as we parent, there's maybe some of you are familiar with parenting styles. And I want to cover some of this background so that when we come to emotional intelligence, it will also help you to understand why sometimes we struggle with it and sometimes we don't do it very well. Now, we have what we call the permissive parent. And are we familiar with these terms? Anybody familiar with them? Maybe, maybe not. Now, a permissive parent is more responsive than demanding, okay? The permissive parent is an indulgent parent. They are really not directive. They are very permissive, right? They give up a lot of control to the children. It's the children who actually end up controlling them. They rarely make rules. They don't make many rules, or rarely actually make rules. And even when they do, it's out of a crisis. And those rules are not really enforced on a consistent basis, okay? So the children know it doesn't matter what you said about those rules. It really doesn't matter. It's okay. These parents do not put boundaries around the children's behavior. By the way, these are the favorite parents for children. They are the parents who you go to the shops and let's say, oh, we've just run out of, say, milk and bread or something, breakfast items. So we are going to the shops for breakfast items, but when we go there with our trolley, we pass this aisle and the child says, oh, mommy, this. Then the other one, oh, daddy, this. And the parent is just like, no, we didn't come for that, but okay, I don't want you to make a fuss. I don't want to make a scene, So by the time you're getting to the counter, you've got a few things you have not gone for, right? So this is a permissive parent. They really care about the feelings of the child. Very responsive, but they're not demanding at all. So they are permissive. Then we have another one called the authoritarian. Now, the authoritarian parent is highly demanding and not responsive. These are the parents who just want things done. Don't ask why, because I said so. Do this. Come and get that done. Why is this not done? Anytime they walk in, they notice what's not done. Okay? Very high, very, very directive, but they're not responsive. They want to control the environment. They're happy when they have controlled the child. The child does things exactly as I said, or it's not done properly. Okay? So they have a lot of strict rules and consequences that come. But their focus is generally on what went wrong, bad behavior. That tends to be a highlight for them. Okay? Then we have the uninvolved. These ones, they are low in response and low in demand. They are low in both things. So they are present, but they are not present. You know, it's like the furniture we have in the house. It's there, but it doesn't really say anything. Okay? So they are present. The children know they have a mom or a dad, and she's alive, she lives here, she comes and goes, but we never really interact much. They are uninvolved. Even when they are home, they are busy on their phones, on their tablets, and they are busy. You try to talk to them, they are busy, and they are genuinely busy, okay? But they are uninvolved. So we call them the present absent parent, because physically you are there, but your mind, your spirit is not there. You eat there, you sleep there, and you drive people to school, you bring them back, but you're uninvolved, right? That's the uninvolved parent. And then we have the one called authoritative. Now, authoritative parent is demanding and responsive, okay? Demanding and responsive, a democratic kind of a parent. So they help children learn to be responsible for themselves. And they think about the consequences of their behavior. So they put rules of how one should behave. And when you go outside of that, they have explained to children about the consequences of when you go out of behaving properly. And when that happens, they actually enforce that consequence. So that the child, they will monitor the child's behavior. And they will make sure that, first of all, they see when the child has done the right thing and they encourage them through that. When they've done the wrong thing, they will talk about it, they will guide them. And then when they have to go through some kind of consequence, they will talk about it and then enforce it. But they will do this in a warm and loving manner. But a hallmark of the authoritative parent is that they try to catch their child doing something good so that they can compliment them. Okay? So these are very generalized explanations. But I wanted to explain them so that I see if you can recognize yourself in any of them. Can you?
1 and 3.
Okay, 1 and 3 in a couple of them. Yes, you can be both. Oh, by the way, we are generally all of them. All of us are generally all of them. It depends. When we are on holiday, we are the permissive parents. Everything is okay, yes, you can have ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, you can do this, it's all right, you don't have to go to bed. We're permissive over the holidays and things like that. We are authoritarian when it is exam time, isn't it? Exam time, there's no joking, sit and just get your work done, isn't it? Uninvolved? Do we have examples of when we are uninvolved? Yeah, I'm sure you do. You know yourself, and authoritative. So generally, we are all this. Each person is generally all this. But I want you to think about yourself on an average. If you were to pick one, how do you generally default? How do you generally default? Are you permissive? Are you authoritarian? Are you uninvolved? Which one are you? And then, what about your spouse, if you're married? What do you think they are? Start there. What do you think they are? Because this one differs from what they think they are to what I think you are. Okay? So, what do you think your spouse is? Are you the same? No? I wonder if you exchange, are you going to be right about each other? Perhaps. I think it's important that we know these differences, because that is when we know these differences, then we know that we are given different vibes in the house, okay? And these differing parenting styles, they cause conflict in the marital relationship, first of all. Because if you have an authoritarian, let's say it's the mother this time, authoritarian mother and a permissive dad, so the mom will be harping and get this done. Why is this not getting? We need to get this done. You need to do your work. You need to clean your room. You need to do that. And she's always almost angry with that child. And what is the other partner? Permissive. Oh, you don't have to keep on making so much noise. Leave them alone. It's okay. They'll learn. Give them space. Why are you so angry? You're the one who's always angry. Right? Now, what does that tell the children? Or the child? Daddy is amazing. Right? And this other lady is Cruella. It always destabilizes children. And that's a given. And let me tell you something else. Children don't even need you to say anything to each other. Children have a natural gift of vibes. I think this is a gift we got from our Creator, a gift of vibes. You can tell when two people are not getting along. Children are extremely sensitive to that. So, you bring confusion in the children. They are confused. So, do I follow you or you? Which one is it? When I want to be friends with you, then I'll do it your way. When I want to be friends with this one, I'll do it their way. So you need to find a balance and to see who does well when it comes to supervising this or doing whatever it is that needs to be done. You need to find your middle ground and be consistent. Okay? Now, as we are parenting, we need to also be aware of phases of parenting, right? Because we are raising children who are growing, and these children need different things at different times, right? So the first stage, the first phase of parenting is children who are 0 to 6, maybe you have them. And the role of a parent in that phase is to command. You're just telling a child, come, take, eat, don't, come, just simple commands. You just tell them, stop this, have this, come here, no, yes, what? Many times you are telling them what to do. Telling them what to do is what we call commanding. Then in the next stage, at around 0 to 7, this year the ages are not fixed, okay? Because sometimes even at a 6-year-old will really give you an opinion, right? But it's a generalized age. At 7 to 12, that's when they're in school, they've gone into primary school. You need to be a coach. Coaching, what do coaches do? Any coaches here? Any coach? What do coaches do? Coaches, first of all, they need to know the sport. Then, they teach, train, right? They can even play to show how it's done. But most important, what do they then do? They get off the pitch and let someone play. So when you're coaching children, you teach them things, but you have to step aside and let them do it. Right? Mr. Luther, you said something interesting about your son. Yes, you tell him to make his bed, then step aside and let him make the bed. Isn't it? So that's what you're doing with coaching. Then we come to the next one, which is now 10 to 20 something. And this is the stage where your parenting needs to take a different style. And you need to be like a counselor. And counselors listen more than they talk, right? So you want to be listening a lot more than you talk. Because when you listen is when you'll understand what this person is actually saying. It doesn't matter what you are seeing, because that is your perception. You need to hear what they are saying, right? And then you reflect back. You're saying this, fine, but you look like this. Then they say, no, I'm feeling like this, or I want this, that kind of thing. You don't tell them what to do. You don't give them your standards. You don't give them that long story. You know how, this story we always give our kids. You know, when I was young, I did. I went to school, I did that, I did the other. They're like, whatever. So, what has that got to do with me? Isn't it? In our generation, I think our parents were saying how they used to go to school without shoes and they used to go to whatever. So, can you even imagine that? No. So how are you telling me to imagine that and my cupboard is full of shoes? It's complicated. And then you get angry at me and I'm wondering, what did I do? You know, I didn't do anything. Anyway, so, counselor, listen. listen a lot more than you speak. Then we have the next one. When your children have gone over 24, I don't know if any of you have got children that age, then you become a consultant, because they will consult you if they want or not. Because consultants are so many, they can even pay for consultation now, at that age, for the person who they feel they can talk to, okay? And you don't feel bad, no feelings, you know? So long as they're getting help, it's a real compliment if a child of that age, working and everything, comes to you asking for your advice or asking what you think. It's a compliment, because they're consulting you. They don't need to, they don't have to, and you can't make them, right? So if your child is coming and is not telling you many things, don't bother them with keeping asking them many questions. In fact, now you're degenerating the relationship, okay? Then after that, over 25 and all that, you really are just, you know, a consultant. You consult until this person is very old, okay? But at 85, you're really just caring for them. You're really caring for them. I remember my father-in-law he was what? He was 86. His mom was 90, no, he died at 86. When he was about 70, we'd go and visit his mother. And when we go to their house, to shosho, we call them shosho in my language, when we go there, she would tell him, you sit here. And he'll be like, no, and she'll just stand and look at him. Like, are you trying to say something? You know, sit here. And you know, he would sit. And we'd really laugh at him, because we were telling him, that's your mom. She still tells you what to do. She still does, you know, she tells you, she wants to care for you even when you are an old man, all right? But of course, he's generally the caregiver of her, but she'll still try to throw in her voice in something. Okay, so that is the phase. When you're parenting across those different ages, you must then remember, when you're dealing with your teenager, you do it this way. When you're dealing with a 4-year-old, you're doing it this way. When you're doing it with a 7, 8-year-old, you're doing it that way. So that also takes a lot of deliberate adjusting of yourself. So you need to manage yourself a lot when you're dealing with children across different ages, right? Okay, now, when parents are emotionally competent in their own relationships, they are more capable of helping their children through their emotional challenges, right? So when you are able to manage yourself, then it is easier for you to help the child. One, you're doing it subconsciously, because when you're managing yourself in certain through certain feelings and doing certain things, the child is watching you, they're learning. And then two, when you tell them to do like you do, then they are able to see, they have an example of seeing how you also live, and they are able to listen to you. Okay, now, there's some background I want to give you. It's a Psychosocial Development Stages by a man called Erik Erikson. And this one also helps you to understand what is going on in the growth of a child. Now, on the left, there is the growth in age. Then we have the ego development outcome, what that child is supposed to develop by the time they're finishing that stage in life, okay? And then the virtue that grows in that child. Now, the first one is infancy. Those are the ages again. Erik Erikson broke them down in those stages. There's infancy, early childhood, play age, school age, adolescence, and young adulthood. Now, in infancy, that is birth to 18 months, the development outcome should be to trust. A child, between birth and 18 months, a child should learn to trust. And when they don't learn to trust, they learn to mistrust. They develop one or the other, okay? And that's why a child will learn to be left with someone else or not, right? In early childhood, that is 18 months, 2 years to something, they want to develop autonomy. And I know you've all been through the 2-year-old tantrum, right? The 2 years, where they're really trying to assert themselves. They want to wear their shoes like this, whereas you know shoes should be worn like this. The chikoleko thing, you know? But they want to wear shoes, and sometimes you let them because that's just how they want to wear their shoes. You need to let them sometimes so that they have a sense of, I can make a decision, right? Autonomy. When you keep correcting and beating it down, they develop a sense of shame, like I can't really do anything. And if they don't come out of that stage with an autonomy feeling, then they start going through life with feelings of shame. I'm not good enough. It starts that early, right? By the time they're going to age 3, it's initiative. They need to be able to do certain things for themselves, even though they don't do it well, but let them do it. Let them help you. Let them say, oh, they don't have to. I remember my son used to have issues of waking up and going to the bathroom and brushing his teeth, doing his dental stuff before he before he changes and goes to have his breakfast. And we struggled with that for quite a while. And eventually he said he wants to eat first, then he'll brush his teeth. And we're like, we're supposed to have done it, then eat, then clean your mouth. He says, no, he wants to do it like this. And after a while, we're like, okay, do it. He did it. Eventually, the cat was skinned, isn't it? The teeth were brushed. So initiative, if you don't, they start getting this thing of feeling, unless I do things your way, my ways are not good enough, and I can't really make decisions. Now, if they don't have initiative, or they don't have autonomy, they feel shame, and then you add on guilt, it starts there. It can start affecting from that age. School age is industry and inferiority. Industry, when they come to school, primary school, and they start learning things, they start telling you new things, and they can tell you something, and you start correcting. All you're doing is correcting it all the time, instead of asking questions to help them clarify so that they realize where they're going wrong. Industrious, they want to learn to be industrious, they want to make new things. If you cook with them, they want to try, okay, why don't we put pepper instead of this? Why don't we go here instead of there? They are making suggestions to you, okay? And if you don't allow that industrious spirit to be nurtured, then they get a sense of inferiority. I don't know anything, I can't do anything, I can't change anything. And that again can develop, can be the beginning of it developing in their lives and will manifest later. Adolescents 13 to 18 is when they are developing their identity or role confusion. That is a really critical time when children are really trying to find out, who am I and where did I come from and who do I really, how do I relate with this, my dad, this one, my mom. Now, the other thing is that from infancy until about age 10, that's a decade that would sort of loosely call a mommy decade, right? Because children really need mommy for basic things. Not that they don't need daddy, but if we were to try and structure it, it's like a mommy decade. But after that, 10 to 20 to literally the rest of their lives, children need their dads. Children at this age, 13 to 18, they define themselves through their fathers. It's interesting. A child wants to know themselves through their father. They identify with their dad. Whether he's present, whether he's absent, and those two, presence and absence, will cause some emotional struggles inside the child. If he's absent, there's struggles. If he's present, absent, there will be struggle, right? But if he's present and physically present for the child, it makes a very big emotional difference, okay? Remember, presence and absence of dads in the second decade of life. It's really important because children define themselves there. It is also interesting that a lot of children who have grown up in, domestic, a lot of women, around a lot of women, a lot of boys who grew up around a lot of women, by the end of this stage, they have learned to think or to start to identify themselves in a feminine version. Because that's what they have seen, that's what they have lived, okay? And they become vulnerable to that bending that way, okay? That is just one of the psychological truths that have been proven through research. because a child learns, and if you follow some of the historical fashion trends, especially from the West, you start to understand the people who brought in, the young men who started the fashions of braiding hair and putting makeup and all that, they actually came from single mom homes, right, where there wasn't a male role model, a strong role model, because a child is a child. They start to play. You've seen when they are playing and they start playing with your shoes and they wear the mother's shoes and they do all that. A child will develop and define themselves by what they are living with. So it's very, very important that at this stage, single parent homes are not an issue. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that boys need a strong male role model, okay, who will be speaking into their lives and who they can relate to. Then we have the young adulthood, where the development outcome is that they learn intimacy. They learn to relate with the opposite sex, okay? And when they don't negotiate that, they can end up isolated. They can end up not being able to engage at a level of intimacy with the opposite sex or to define themselves, and you find there are kids who don't know how to ask or to go on a date or to do this. But when you see that, then we're able to intervene in the place of counseling. Okay, now the virtue. This is the important part. The virtue that we get from infancy is hope. Okay? I think we need to put that up. Hope. The virtue, when you learn to trust, you learn the virtue of hope. That's how little kids stop crying when mommy goes off, because they have learned, oh, she's going to come back. It's okay, she's going to come back. Then early childhood, it's willpower, right? Remember the 2-year-old energy? The virtue they get is willpower. So when they develop willpower from that time and it becomes a part of their lives, at some point they will know they need to apply something to get things done, okay? Play age is purpose, a reason that they start to realize, I'm here, I can initiate things, I'm important. I can help daddy, I can help mommy, I can do something that somebody else appreciates. So they learn that their purpose starts there. School age is the industry. It makes them understand they are competent. The virtue they develop is competence. I can do it. I can actually do it. If they don't get that virtue, then they will struggle with inferiority. They will always have this need to keep on being told, you can do it, you have to keep forcing them. Some kids pick it up so quickly, even if they're not very clever, but they know, I can do it, I just need time, just help me, just show me. Then there are others who don't matter. You can see they have the capacity, but they just, I don't know, I don't want, a lot of fear. Then we have the adolescence, fidelity. Fidelity that now teaches you, whether it's your sexual orientation, you're a boy or you're a girl. You have identified with male and female. You're clear about which one you are. There's no confusion. So that you now know when you're relating to the other opposite sex. And I don't want to go into that at this point. I know there's questions and issues around that whole situation, but I'm just giving a the basic explanation of how people get into role confusion and into especially this isolation, where you find a lot of people also struggle with the whole idea of love. Love, defining love. What is love? Is love when I give or when I get? It's always when I get, but I don't give. Or when I'm giving all the time, it's not good enough. Some people give so much to the point where they can end up in abusive relationships. But they still feel, at least that person loves me, right? So there's confusion around that. So that is Erickson's developmental stages. So like I was saying, the significant transition here of 10 to 20, it's really, really important. But it is, the foundation of it comes from all the ones before. Remember, as all these things are happening, there's a lot of emotions around parents, around the child. there's a lot going on, all right, in each person as all this is going on. Right, now, behaviors. What drives behaviors? What drives your behavior? Behavior is driven by those three things. Nature. Nature is, of course, you're born male, female, you're born with your own personality. Personalities are also other things that also determine a lot of other things that happen to us as individuals. But your nature, whether you're introverted or extroverted, and that is just that, whether you're more of a people person or you're more of a quieter person who gets energized by being alone, all those things make a difference in the way you behave, right? Tendencies of nature determine how you behave. Then there's nurture. Nurture is how you have been nurtured, how you have been brought up. Okay? That also determines a lot how you behave, because you could be an introverted person who's very quiet and everything, but you've been nurtured to be out there and done a lot of stuff. You've grown up out there a lot, so you tend to be very comfortable in that space and doing whatever that needs to be done. So nurture, how you're bringing up those children, will also determine how their character, how their personality plays out, okay? How you nurture them. But the significant thing about human beings is that people have choice, okay? Now remember, parenting is not like baking a cake where you have a recipe and you have weights and you just measure everything precisely and it's a guaranteed result. You bake it at 275 or whatever it is, it will come out like that every time. Parenting is not like that. Because as you parent, you must always know there is no guarantee for you to get the result that you are expecting. There are some wise words that say, train a child in the way to go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That presumes that children need to be trained when they are young. Train them young. And it also presumes to me that at some point they may go away. Because it says when they are old, they will come back. So it presumes they will go away. Why? That's the element of choice. You can do the best you can do. And that's all anybody is asked to do. Just do the best that you can do. So that by the time the child is growing up, they have enough inside of them. Even if they went and got lost, they know the way home. They know how to get back to where they need to be. Choice. Choice is a big deal. And I think even for you and I, there are a lot of things we know that we should be doing, isn't it? Isn't it? There are a lot of things we know we should be doing or we shouldn't be doing, but are we always faithful to that? Are we always faithful? Not always. And why is that? Choose. Our choice. I know I should have the 6th queen cake. I shouldn't. But I will because I want to. Right? I know I should go out jogging. I know I had said in January I'll start exercising, I'll start dieting. Oh no, I had said I was going to start this business, I was going to stop doing this and doing that. But we haven't gotten there yet. It's all about choice, and choice is all about the mind. So, behavior, even with children, they are making choices. They are making choices, and depending on their age, that's why parenting takes time. Depending on their age, you need to understand, was that what, whatever you did you do it willingly or was it a mistake, right? So you need to be able to control your emotions so that you're able to process a child to understand whether whatever they did, sometimes of course, some of the things they do is because they're just aping you, which is okay. But some of the aping they do of adults is not appropriate, right? So you need to understand, why is a child doing what they're doing? Is it that, okay, there's their nature? How have you nurtured them? Have you taught them? Have you shown them? Have you coached them? So that you show them and you tell them the boundaries, and then you then step aside for choice. Because that's what now happens in the teenage. You need to have invested a lot by the time you start questioning one's choices at the teenage part. Okay. Now, logic makes people think, right? Logic, it's a thought process. But emotion makes people act. Does that make sense to you? Logic makes people think. Emotion makes people act. It is emotion that makes people behave in certain ways, right? There are times that you behave even outside of how you were thinking you were going to behave. It is emotion that will make a child behave in a manner they know, they've thought about, they've been told that they should not do that, but they do it anyway, okay? Now, there is a difference between feelings and emotions. You may feel something, but an emotion makes you do something else. Feelings are experienced consciously, while emotions manifest either consciously or subconsciously. And some people may spend years or even a lifetime not understanding the depth of your emotions, right? Have you ever behaved in a manner that even surprised you? Have you? Let's talk about this. Have you ever behaved in a manner that just kind of surprised you? Or you were having a conversation with someone, maybe just a simple disagreement, but something happens and you completely explode. And somebody wonders, what happened? What happens is that the emotions that I talked about earlier on, there are some emotions that are left deep in our subconscious. And sometimes it takes a very small thing that goes and touches that emotion. Maybe we were talking and you made me feel inferior. We were talking about something totally different. But the way you spoke to me, for some reason, evoked my emotion of feeling inferior, and that made me mad. Okay? That's what happens sometimes with children. Maybe they're going around with something that's going on inside of them. They're not too sure what it is. But maybe, let's say, they come to school and another child does something or overpowers them or calls them something or says something to them maybe that is familiar to this child that hurts them so badly, they just react. So emotions are extremely important, and I would invite each one of us to be self-aware, to know what are those emotions inside of you that sometimes come up that actually take you by surprise. Because they can be there, right? So they happen subconsciously. Feelings are things I feel. I feel because I've seen this, I feel good. And I see that, something nice, I see a nice cake, I feel good. The things that make me feel good, I'm very aware of that. But subconsciously. Sometimes, women, we are told we are very emotional. You can watch a movie that you get so caught up with it and it really catches your emotion until you cry. You actually tear. That's the gift of Hollywood. They really know how to really touch our emotion. What made you cry? Something in you empathized with what you were watching or with one person or something that caught a deep emotion inside of you that was then expressed in tears, right? So we need to be very careful about emotions because they are the ones that make us behave the way we behave. Okay, now let us talk about what brought us here. I wanted us to have that background because emotional intelligence, like I said, is a simple topic. It's about your emotions. It's being aware. Emotional intelligence is the ability to be aware of your emotions, understand them, and manage them. Okay? It means that you're able to understand your emotions and manage them so that you're able to handle yourself in different situations. Okay? Now, there are 5 elements in emotional intelligence. There are 5 competencies. The first one is self-awareness. Recognizing your emotions and the effect that you have on other people, right? You're aware of the effect you have on other people. Many of us walk around without actually knowing that, right? You're aware, you recognize your emotions and how you react and the effect you have on others. Depending on what something meant to you, all the emotion you had put around it, losing something can challenge that. And we find, especially when people go into depression, that is what is being managed in counseling. Making somebody understand what was the emotion about, why was it so deep, what was all that to you, so that we now learn how to energize ourselves again. Now the next one is self-motivation. Again, you know your feelings and manage them, manage yourself through thick and thin, and drive yourself, motivate yourself to improve and achieve, so that you have optimism and resilience. You have to believe in yourself, okay? Self-motivation, so that you know yourself so well, you know what motivates you, you know why you want to do what you want to do. It doesn't always have to come from the outside, and that's what we're trying to also do with our children, to give them this sense of resilience, of knowing you are capable, you can, but they need to believe it. And they need to believe it to the point where it doesn't have to be coming out from us, always giving it. So you just keep building it up, okay? Then the next one is social awareness. Emotional intelligence is having social awareness, an aptitude to recognize other people's emotions, right? You demonstrated that with the clip we had earlier. You can look at a person and kind of tell what mood is going on. You can have some kind of an idea of, you can read what that would be saying, okay? Now, our perception of others helps us to manage ourselves in a situation. Have you found yourself in a, like you can walk into a room and you just get drawn to a particular person for whatever reason? There's just something about that person that draws you to them. Or you can be in a place, women call it intuition also. You can be talking to someone and actually you realize, I don't want to be near this person at all. Right? You've never met them, you don't know them, you don't know nothing about them, but just something tells you, On the other hand, you can come to a meeting like this and you sit next to somebody you've never met, never seen, and you hit it off completely. You start talking and you talk deep things and you just have a great time and you become the best of friends, right? Social awareness. Social awareness also helps you to read situations, even at home, what people need. You can tell somebody needs something before they need it. You're able to read your children's emotions. Yeah? And at work also, you're able to tell when somebody's struggling and they're not saying so. So it helps you to recognize other people's emotions. Then we have relationship management, which also uses social awareness, ability, and then it's the ability to influence others and to resolve conflict. So when in relationship management, it's that you have learned yourself, you have learned to read other people, and even when people are in conflict, you're able to understand the situation and actually drive people to understanding one another, to resolve conflict. Right? So emotional intelligence is very, very important in all those areas, okay? But it starts with us, it starts with yourself. Now, it is so, we say it is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, as well as being able to understand and influence the emotions of others. Why is it important to have it? It involves being aware that emotions drive behavior and impact people either positively or negatively. EI helps you to be in control within your relationships, and this is with your parents, you as parents, with your siblings, workmates, children, extended family. It helps you. Having a high EI helps you in your relationships. Okay? Now, When you know and appreciate how you feel, you understand other people's feelings. When you know and appreciate how you feel, you understand other people's feelings. You don't, you understand other people's feelings. Two, you don't need to be manipulated by other people's emotions. You know, we manage one another so much with emotions. We manage one another very, very much. My husband used to be very, very good at knowing when he doesn't want to come and talk about anything, and he doesn't want to be asked questions, he knew exactly how to behave when he comes home. Right? Because he'll come and he'll create something, and he knows how I'm going to respond, because that is going to cause a nail by mouth. Right? And that's what he wants. He wants a quiet evening at home. Okay? We know how to manipulate each other. We know how to do that. And especially when you're in trouble, when you don't want to be in trouble, you know how to manage situations. And that's what we want to teach little children not to do. Own your emotion and talk through it. Don't manipulate. And don't be manipulated by other people. And you don't manipulate people and blame everyone else when there's conflict. You know, there are people who are never wrong. There are people who never wrong. There are people who can't say sorry or I'm sorry. They will use other language. Oh, okay, is that what it was supposed to be? Right, I wasn't aware of some. They'll find a way out of not saying, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. I made a mistake and I'm sorry. Those are very powerful words in relationships. Just being able to say, look, I'm sorry. I know what I did hurt you. I didn't think it would, but it did. And I'm sorry. Just that. You'll be surprised how many fires you can put out with that. But funnily enough, there are people who actually don't like to use those words, right? So, whenever there is conflict, one, as an adult, you should be able to have enough emotional intelligence to see whenever there is conflict, there's two parties. There's always two parties. There is responsibility on this side and responsibility on this side. There's my part that I played and there's the part of the other person. So where did we go wrong? Okay? So that you're not the one who's always saying, oh, it was this one, you're blaming everybody, you're always pointing fingers, you're always pointing fingers at everybody else and blaming. Okay? When you're emotionally intelligent, blaming ceases. It reduces. Because you always want to understand, what was my part in that? How did that go wrong? If that child went wrong, what's my role? What didn't I do that made that happen? Okay? Good. So, why is it important in children? Emotions and intellect are different intelligences, and children need to help. Children need help to connect them. You can have a very intelligent IQ, that is the intelligence quotient, very high, but the EQ is not very high, okay? And sometimes that's why we call some of these people nerds. There are some people who are made exceptionally high IQ, but their social EQ, EI is a little bit low, all right? That happens, but we need to connect them. We have kids to connect them. Now, if emotions affect learning, a child's emotions affect their learning. If a child comes to school, having left home with emotions, they're not feeling unhappy, they look fine. They'll come and swing here like that girl. But their emotion is not right. They will not learn well, and they will not remember. Parents serve as an emotion coach for children, so they need to know and develop their EI. So we parents need to develop our EIs so that we know how we are affecting children. Okay? Now, the whole idea of family life has really changed. These days, family life has really changed. And children are in, whether, the regular two-parent home that can be happy or unhappy, one-parent home that can be happy or unhappy. You can have guardians, living with grandparents, living with aunties, step families, blended families, and in all those situations, there are issues that can destabilize children, okay? There are issues, especially amongst the adults, that can destabilize children. Because like I said, children read vibes, they feel. Even when we are all trying to be on our best behavior, they feel. When you're not talking to each other properly, they feel it. They know it. And that kind of destabilizes them. So we need to just be aware of that so that we manage ourselves better, so that we talk through our issues faster, so that we can become the emotion coach. When we show our children how we behave when we are angry, when we are not happy, or when we are happy, then we give them an idea of how they will behave. So when kids seek emotional security but are met with little empathy, they shut down. When a home environment is not calm and parents are not able to actually recognize that this child is struggling, when a child is looking for that emotional need and they don't know how to tell you, sometimes we are the ones that need to go to them so that we understand what's happening to them. They will act it out, but we may sometimes punish it and try to clean it up quickly. You know, we are in the quick, let's fix this. Some emotions are not quickly fixed. If a child is in that state and we don't meet their needs, then they shut down. They shut down, then we have given them rooms where they go to, we've given them phones that they go on, and they get into social media, they get into friends, they have 1,000 friends, right? These days, children have, social media, it's a great tool. There's no doubt about it. It's one of the greatest gifts that we have received in recent times. But it also, left unmanaged, can be the biggest enemy in your home. Biggest enemy to all of us. We all have issues with our, not all, sorry. Many people have issues with their phones. You can be talking to somebody who is present, physical here, but you're still scrolling on your phone and looking for something, right? Tablets. We're so caught up that there's a bit of unhealthiness there. We need to be careful. We need to manage these gadgets. We need to manage this social media and everything. Now, the little ones sometimes are so needy, they don't know, they can't gauge, they can't sift. They just get caught up in it, and they get caught up in things they were not even looking for. They get caught up. If they are emotionally vulnerable, they will be. It's easy for them to be deviated in their own way. Okay? So we need to be careful with that. So some helpful tips. First of all, we want to listen. Always listen. Always listen to children. Listen before you talk. Listen. Help children to label their feelings, whether they are sad, mad, frustrated, excited, and avoid squashing emotions. Right? You tell them, why are you crying? Why do you feel like this? Or why are you doing that? Let's not squash their feelings, because that's how they are feeling for that moment. You want to understand the why. How, what made you, what happened? You want to understand what is the feeling and label the feeling. I can see you're feeling sad. How did that come about? Right? Then the next one is recognize emotion and expression. This is the congruence of emotion and behavior, the body language. Sometimes, like we saw the boy on the tree, you saw the way he was it B? The B, the way he was sitting. You can interpret that as he's sad, he's alone, he's lost, he's all those things. Then somebody else can say, oh, he's thinking about which child he's going to go to, or he's thinking about something. You can interpret yourself, but many times you want to ask the child, what is it? I see you're sitting quietly by yourself. Are you thinking about something? Is there something bothering you? You want to ask, what is it? Right? Okay, then the next one is empathize. Empathize is putting yourself in the child's position and acknowledging the feeling. Be genuine and also share your emotions. Empathize. Even for us adults, there are many times I don't understand what made you mad about what I said. What made you mad? Yeah, I just said something. But until you explain to me what that meant to you, maybe the way I said it, maybe something aroused your emotion. Maybe when I said it, I reminded you of something, or I made you feel something, and I can't negate your feeling. Just because it's not what I meant, I can't negate the fact that you felt that way. So we also need to be generous with each other, empathizing as adults, as parents, as well as with the children. Empathize when something is going on or they look confused or something. Empathize and understand, why are they feeling that way? Understand that, get into their shoes and help them to let you know how that feels. Also, you tell them how you feel. There are times you just need to share your feeling with a child so that they understand exactly what's going on with you, not just a reaction, okay? So we need to empathize, and we teach them how to empathize. Yeah? Okay. Yes, we are going to start a section of, or rather just what I wanted to encourage you in terms of how you support children, and how to make them more empowered, more liberated, and more able to make their decisions and do what they need to do. So I wanted to introduce something called the Support Challenge Matrix, okay? And this one, it really deals with support and challenge at the same time. So what it has is that it has two axes, a high support and low support, that's the vertical one, and the horizontal one is a challenge axis. There's the low challenge and high challenge, okay? Now, what happens is, when we are taking care of our children, sometimes we have a very high support. We support them so much, which is good. There's nothing wrong with supporting the children. Sometimes we support them too much, and the challenge is very low. Okay? We don't challenge them enough. We kind of just support them too much. And that's what we call, what happens when you do that is you cause a child to have this culture of entitlement and mistrust. Because you are so supportive, you do so much, you don't actually challenge them to do anything, right? They don't get to do much. So what happens with them is that we become protectors as parents. You really protect your child. Even when something goes wrong, you're more supportive than even challenging what happened or what was your role in it and what are the consequences for you. So you develop that culture of entitlement. So that child, no matter where they go, as they grow up, all they know is that you take care of everything. You always do. Okay? And when things go wrong, and you come for counseling, and the child tells me that mommy takes care of it, I mean, like folks take care of everything. This is a teenage, by the way, this has happened for real. And they take care of everything, and they don't trust me, I have to do this, and they get into trouble. I'll actually ask you as the parent, why are you changing? You're the one who has brought problems, because you're changing. So you need to teach children, you need to challenge children. So be careful if you're too protective. The next one, we'll go anti-clockwise, is when you have low challenge and low support. Your support is not very strong and you don't challenge. Maybe by your support not being very strong, maybe you're not very present, you're not very on top of what's going on, whether in school. You don't know really much of what's going on, so you really don't know how to challenge this person, this young person, the child. So you're pretty absent. Then you create a culture of apathy and low expectation. So that if that is what is happening at home, the parent has abdicated. You've actually abdicated your role. That child who comes to school has a very low expectation of themselves. No matter how much they are pushed by anybody, there's no one who's actually pushing them and challenging them. So they have low support and low challenge. Then we come to the next one, where you have low support and high challenge. You're not really supporting much, but you have very high expectations. You're always demanding, but you're not supportive. Right? You just want to have everything happening the way you want, perfectly, no mistakes, no bad grades, no nothing. But you're not really supportive in how that happens. You're not very supportive. You want to hear the child was the lead role in the play, but you never even went to see it. Right? You are not even present. You didn't take them for practice. You didn't take them even the games. You want them to be to get the scholarship. If your school offers scholarships, there could be sports scholarships. You want them to get the scholarship. You don't attend the game. You don't even know the game. You don't know anything about it. What you're doing is dominating the child. You become a dominator, and you create a culture of fear and manipulation. That child learns to fear, learns to tell you what you want to hear, and only tells you what they feel you'll be okay with. Anything that they know they will be in trouble, they manipulate you. They now don't tell you there's a game, they don't tell you there's plays, they don't tell you anything. They manipulate you, okay? Because you've created a culture of dominance. Then the next one is you liberate. When you give high support and high challenge. You know what's going on in this child's life. You know what they were supposed to do. You know the study, you know the game, you know this. You probably have even learned some skills if it's a game, so that as he plays or she plays, you can actually correct the game, or tell them, why don't we try this next time, and I'll, put in extra practice. You support, high support, and high challenge. I expect you to be doing well. I expect you to have good grades. This didn't go too well. Okay, let's study, let's get some extra tuition. Maybe we talk to the teacher and whatever. And the next time we do the test, let's see if it's going to get better. And let's see, be present to see it got better. Why didn't it get, what do we need to do to get this better? Okay? That is when you develop a culture of empowerment and opportunity. Ours is to raise kids who are liberated. That is the goal. Liberate them to take control of their lives, to take control of what's happening to them. And it starts very young. It starts really young. I used to sit sometimes I'd sit in parking lots of schools to see parents bringing kids to school in the morning. Even the little ones like class 2, class 3, class, those ones. And it's interesting to watch parents. They'll come with the little ones and, very nice, hold their hand and hold the bag and take the child to class, which is nice. But now, when that child comes home without some of their things or without their bag, you get mad. You get so angry. But do you know that child didn't take a bag to school? You did. You're the one who took the bag to school. Okay? So, start from early. That's your bag. You carry the bag because you are going to school. I'll walk you to class, I'll walk you there and do whatever. And as they are packing their things to take to school, help them, age appropriate, to learn, plan their time. That's where you get involved. Plan their time. What do you need tomorrow? Pack it. Put it where it needs to be packed, or put it there. Make it available. As a parent, you must make it available. It needs to be available. Now, show them how to pack it and show them, coach, remember coach, show them. And then from that time on, let them do it. And tell them, in school, before you leave, that's what you do to make sure you have your everything. But not a culture of every time a sweater is lost, you're running to, what's the shop? School Outfitters or Animate. Yours is to spend time at Animate every 3 weeks. And labeling and doing this and running and checking, and even when they went swimming, did you bring the towel? A child needs to know, I need these things and I use them, so I need to take them home, all right? You liberate them, start early, and it gets so much easier. So much easier as they grow up, okay? Now, let's look at this. Remember, we talked about whether we are permissive or authoritarian. For the permissive parent, who is more responsive than demanding, how do you see, in this chart, how do you see yourself? You are the
What are you doing in the support challenge matrix? When you're a permissive parent, responsive, high response, and low demanding, what are you doing? You're protecting. You're creating a culture of protection, protecting. You're always protecting. Sorry? Oh, are you talking to me? Okay, you're protecting. So you have created a culture of protecting, and this child will grow up knowing, Mom's, my dad's got my back. It doesn't matter, I don't need to do much, okay? So, be careful about that. When you're an authoritarian parent, you're highly demanding, that's high challenge, and not responsive. What are you doing? You're dominating. You're dominating and creating a culture of fear. I don't know if there's anybody here who's old enough for the times when our parents were so harsh. They were really harsh. And you literally knew the sound of your father's car before it comes around the corner. So what would happen is you were all sitting in the sitting room, maybe watching TV or something. When you hear that car, everybody, we all disappear. Because you better not come and find people watching TV. You're supposed to be reading and doing many things. Okay? That's what it was about. You're dominating. You're creating fear in children. And they learn to fear authority. Not necessarily a bad thing, but you should fear. You should know authority, respect it, but not necessarily fear. All right, the next one is when you are uninvolved. You're low in response and low in demand. What have you done? You have abdicated. We need to say these words, my friends. You have abdicated. Because we don't want to just be reading those words for other people. You need to say the word. If I'm not involved and I'm not demanding, I am abdicating. And it doesn't matter if your home has two parents. It's not the job of one parent to take care of children. It's double duty and full-time duty of two people. So if you're not doing it, you're abdicating. And the role that you should be playing in that space, the impact that you should be having, the influence you should be having, is not there. So you have abdicated. Okay? Let's just be real, people. Okay? Now, when you're authoritative, you're demanding and responsive, you're liberating. Isn't that what we want to do? Now, when you're trying to raise the resilience of a child, what do you need to be? A liberator. You need to be a liberator. You know? Like I said, parenting is not something that will come and you have a template that you go and do this thing, this is going to work, or a recipe that you come and fix and you mix things together and you get a result. Parenting is involvement. Your personal involvement. You grow as you parent, and the kids also grow with you. And remember, you're the greatest role model for your children. I don't know why those particular ones were given to you specifically. You to be their dad and you to be their mom. They could have been given to someone else. But those particular ones were given to you, so that you as a mom impact them. You as a dad impact them. There should be something in you that is getting these guys to where they need to be going. So it is very important. This is how you liberate the children. This is how you make them independent. You give them chores, age appropriate. You give them consequences, because there is high challenge, high support. There are rules. There are clearly defined rules, and there are consequences when you cross the rule of however many times you decide, all right? And some of these things make very good conversations or family meetings. I don't know if you have family meetings. You have family meetings and discuss, create the rules, create the consequences together. Because that way you're enrolling them in the running of that organization. You know, your family is an organization. for it to run well, especially when they are older. By the way, it's fun when they are little, as they create rules. Because when they cross them, they know, and they know the consequence. So you just keep upping the rules together, okay? So that is that. I'm wondering how much impact this has been for you. And I want to check it out on my hope meter. We want a hope meter. And I want you to remember the word I told you to check at the beginning. How you feel about your parenting role at this time, when we started, all right? What scale would you give yourself here? If a scale of 1 to 100, 100 is your ecstatic, 0 is you're struggling or feeling hopeless, what word had you used? Would it fall on the left side or on the right side? And just for your own sake, has what you have heard helped you to go a notch up? Maybe you said you came here and you had like what? Maybe you were feeling 40, you were struggling something. Has what you have heard made you maybe even go to 50, given you some hope? I would like to believe so. I really would like to believe so, because that's why we were here. That's why we were here. Okay? Rate yourself. Information is supposed to make you better. Some of it you probably already knew, so we were just reminding one another. Okay? So the idea is for you to take what you heard to improve yourself as a parent. And remember, the children you are raising, they're not just your cutie little bunnies and sweeties. They are the future of this nation or another nation, wherever you may come from. These are leaders of tomorrow, and they need to be prepared starting today. Whether they are 0, 2, 1, 10, 15, there is never a point when it's too late. But we are preparing people who will leave. Another crisis we have is women in their 50s and 60s. Their kids won't leave home. They won't go. They are working, they are using their parents' cars and doing whatever. They are on a job, they are salaried. They don't leave home. Why? The support is too much. There's no challenge. Huh? And we must love our children with some tough love. You grew up to grow up. You grew up to live. Okay? So we must also be loving our children enough to let them go. Let them go. Start early. Give them the independence. Give them the strength to know they can manage on their own. They can do it. That resilience. Even when things go wrong, you can do it. You're able to do it. I don't have to keep on jumping in there. Okay? I don't have to keep on jumping in there. You can do it. But I have to let you. I was talking with a lady, and one of the most powerful things a parent can do is to step aside. We were just saying that. Step aside. Don't always jump in to help. Just step aside and allow the child to make their decision, to make their direction. When they're stuck, then you. And remember what we said. Listen more than you talk. Okay? So I think with that, I hope you are. Let's go back, please. Just go back. I hope you are at least just okay. Or optimistic. Did we get some optimism somewhere? Yeah? Excellent. I think then I've achieved what I came for, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your coming. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you all for being here. God bless you.